Hello, glad you could join us. Another watercolour here. My name is Jeff Goodwin. This is just a simple beach scene, little cove somewhere. And you can just see a tree there in the foreground, some sand and rocks there in the foreground as well. And you can see some a simple sky there. So very simple watercolour indeed. And we will start off by mixing some cobalt blue with a little bit of Paynes grey. We've got to wet the paper yet, so we've done that, or about to do that, just mixing up a bit of paint. So cobalt blue, bit of Paynes grey. Could use a lighter blue if you wanted to, so wetting the paper. I'll be speeding this up in a moment and then I'll slow it back down again. So I'm just going to be putting some cobalt blue mixed with some Paynes grey, and I'm going to be tilting the paper and letting the colours run and diffuse for this sky. You don't always have to do that, and we'll do some different skies for you down the track. Please subscribe and click that bell icon. I'm trying to grow this watercolour channel, and if we get a certain amount of subscribers, I'll begin a Patreon, and if you want to sort of jump into the Patreon, be a part of that. It's very, very, very cheap. I think it's about $1 a month or something like that. But anyway, we'll really get into the nitty-gritty and concentrate on doing different waters and different skies and some various techniques as well. So you can see there, that's the Prussian blue there with some Paynes grey mixed in with that. It's going to be fairly light, and then I'm going to let that dry and then go over it again. You don't have to. Usually I do my skies in one go, but I wasn't too happy, so I thought, yeah, after it dried, I'll just give it another layer. And then I was happy. Some Paynes grey there, more Paynes grey, as you can see. And up the top there, it's a mixture of Prussian blue and Paynes grey. It's okay, but I'm not happy. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll go over it with another layer. So I'm just speeding this up. Yeah, you can see me putting another layer on there, and some yellow ochre in there as well. some Prussian blue, yellow ochre and some Paynes grey. Just tilting the board there, tilting it around. Now it's dry, so I'm adding just a background. Could be an island or a piece of land in the distance. Now I purposely wanted to leave that paint run onto the sky. The sky was still a little bit wet, but I wanted that effect. I didn't want it just to be a hard line. You can do a hard line in the background there for an island or a piece of land, but I just wanted the impression that there could be some trees or some growth. So I've used that technique just to let it run into, being careful not to let it cauliflower, of course, but just to give it a bit of a diffused look there. Alright, so that'll do for that. I'm just going over the water again. I will be. Painting in some area here in the sand, using a little bit of yellow ochre. Now I want to put some rocks going onto the beach. So I'll be getting some darker brown colours and for the rocks. And then I want to just sort of go in areas around there to create some darkness, and I'll use a little bit of Paynes grey with a bit of darker brown for that, for the rocks that is, as well. Rocks turned out pretty good. There's a combination of different coloured rocks that I'm going to put down the sand. Rocks to me aren't very easy to paint. I struggle with rocks, but yeah, I'm happy with these. Even though I struggle with rocks, I persevere, and when we do start up a Patreon, we'll do a couple of sessions just on rocks as well. Don't worry about making a mistake. We only learn by our mistakes. The key with a watercolour painting, try not to be too precise about it. I think if you can do a fairly loose watercolour painting, that looks far better than a very stiff and stilted painting where you've tried to paint every little leaf and every detail. To me, that's the same with painting an urban scene, urban sketching and watercolour. Using ink and watercolour, you can be fairly free with doing that. Your lines do not have to be precise. Doesn't matter if your watercolour goes over the line. That's okay as well. And we'll do some more demos on that very soon as well. So painting these, getting the areas for these rocks coming down the beach. These aren't finished. I'm still to work on these rocks. And you can see I'm putting a bit of shadow in areas there with some darker brown. I'll eventually get some Paynes grey, which will be almost to black in some areas as well. And I'll dot that plus some brown and then a little bit of yellow ochre, which I'll put it through. I'll splatter some of that peach colour, which you can see I've got some peach colour on the sand and some yellow ochre on the sand. So I'll splatter some more peach colour onto the sand there as well. We'll get to that in a minute. Don't know whether you can hear the thunder. It's raining where I am. By the way, that background island or piece of land that you can see in the distance, jutting out from the right-hand side of the paper, that's a combination of violet and a little bit of, a combination of violet and some olive green to get that colour. So you can see here, we're still trying to get the rocks just sort of randomly coming down from this little slope here, which is at the base of a tree, which we will paint in. As we're painting in the rocks, sand, getting some detail in there. Again, if you look at that land in the distance there, coming out from the side of the right-hand side of the page, you can see a little bit of white, area between that land and the water. So that's just white paper there, and that gives the illusion of some sand there in the distance. So a bit of Paynes grey in there as well. I'll just wipe that off with a tissue a bit just to smooth it over. Don't be afraid to use a tissue if you want to just sort of pad or dampen it back a bit. You've got your brushes as tools, but you can also use tissue as a tool as well. Oop, I bumped that, sorry. So I'm going over this water again, a little bit darker in areas. Just with a mixture of cobalt blue and some olive green. If you have any questions, just leave your questions in the comments down below and I'll get back to you. So yeah, some olive green and cobalt blue, just some areas darkening it up there. Still raining outside, bit of a thunderstorm where I am. Working on those rocks, putting some darker areas in there. Using a burnt umber for some of those darker areas, and of course some Paynes grey as well. Some random little stones or tiny rocks. I suppose you could have a shadow. We're about to put a tree in on the left-hand side, and I suppose you could have a shadow coming along the beach from that tree, but I'm not going to do one on this painting, but you could if you wanted to. Dab in the area there where I've got a bit of paint by mistake, so I'll put some paper over the page, over the watercolour paper, so I can protect the water and the sky. Let's move it over the water now. Some peach coloured watercolour on the paper there, just to give a bit of texture. Now I'm just putting clean water at the base of this tree because I want, I don't know, some brush vegetation, something like that at the base of the tree. Just want this to be fairly loose, and the same with the tree. I don't want it looking stilted. I just want the foliage to look really loose and free with this watercolour painting. So we're going to get some Paynes grey for the branches on, and the trunk and the branches on these trees here. They'll be fairly thin looking branches, I think. You can see them penciled in there just. Use that tissue just to bring it back a bit, soften it right off. Well, here we go with Paynes grey. I don't care if a bit blends into that vegetation. I've just painted out the base of that tree. That's all right. If it does that, that's fine. And here we go. I'm going to, there we go, that's all right, let it go. I'm going to swap brushes. I'm using my rigger brush now, a very thin brush. You call it a rigger brush because it's usually used to paint the rigging on ships, the ropes and things on ships. It's a nice brush, nice fine brush there. It's a Winsor & Newton rigger brush. Thing is with watercolour, if it's not working out, don't give up. It's something that you have to keep doing. If you can do 2 or 3 in a week, just keep going. You'll see yourself improving all the time. But my main advice is try not to be too stiff and deliberate about your painting. Free up as much as you can. So clean water around the branches of the trees where I want the foliage to go. Some of that Paynes grey is coming away there. That's all right though, I don't mind. Maybe I should have let that dry a bit more. Anyway, it doesn't matter, it's going to look quite okay. So this is olive green now, just putting it on to the areas of the tree where I have already put some water, because I want this to be really free, this foliage. I don't want it to be stilted or deliberate. Just want the paint to flow. Darken it up in areas. That's better. See how I just brought that back with a tissue? Now those colours will get lighter, fade back a bit. That's what watercolours tend to do. So I'm going to keep going over that with some olive green, because I don't want it fading back too much. How's that looking so far? More green on the tree. It's the olive green. Putting some little tiny branches just poking out of randomly poking out of some of these clumps of leaves. It's looking all right. Looks like a nice place to relax. Okay, pull the masking tape off. Careful to rip away, take that off away from the paper when you're peeling that tape off, because you don't want it ripping into your painting. That's the final reveal. There it is. Hope you enjoyed that. Please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Click that bell icon, and we've got more watercolours coming your way very, very soon. As I said before, I'll be starting up a Patreon when I get enough subscribers, and we'll go into more detail and more exclusive material for you. But I hope you enjoyed this very simple Cove somewhere. Thank you for watching. Back again soon with another watercolour. Bye for now.